Why couldn't someone dedicate the firstborn among their animals to the Lord? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we conclude our verse-by-verse study of the book of Leviticus on walking through the Bible.
The glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Leviticus 27. We're going to be reading from verses 22 to 34. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Leviticus 27, beginning at verse 22. And if a man dedicates to the Lord a field which he has bought, which is not the field of his possession, then the priest shall reckon to him the worth of your valuation up to the year of Jubilee, and he shall give your valuation on that day as a holy offering to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the field shall return to him from whom it was bought, to the one who owned the land as a possession. And all your valuation shall be according to the shekel of the sanctuary, 20 gerahs to the shekel. But the firstborn of the animals, which should be the Lord's firstborn, no man shall dedicate, whether it is an ox or a sheep, it is the Lord's. And if it is an unclean animal, then he shall redeem it according to your valuation, and shall add 1/5 to it. Or if it is not redeemed, then it shall be sold according to your valuation. Nevertheless, no devoted offering that a man may devote to the Lord of all that he has, both man and beast, or the field of his possession, shall be sold or redeemed. Every devoted offering is most holy to the Lord. No person under the ban, who may become doomed to destruction among men, shall be redeemed, but shall be surely put to death. And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. If a man wants at all to redeem any of his tithes, he shall add 1/5 to it. And concerning the tithe of the herd of the flock, or whatever passes under the rod, the 10th one shall be holy to the Lord. He shall not inquire whether it is good or bad, nor shall he exchange it. And if he exchanges it at all, then both it and the one exchanged for it shall be holy. It shall not be redeemed. These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses for the children of Israel on Mount Sinai. This chapter has been seen by us as discussing the various vows and their redemption prices. I understand that this can be confusing, but these instructions will help us, Lord willing, later on in our studies of the Old Testament, so we should at least mark this chapter in our Bibles as a reference. Verse 22 continues where we left off in our last lesson concerning vowing fields to the Lord. We learned that if a person vowed a field of their possession to the Lord, meaning land that was given to them upon the division of Canaan, they could redeem it for a certain price before the Jubilee year. If they didn't redeem it, or if they sold it before the Jubilee year, then they wouldn't be able to redeem it at all, and the land would fall into the possession of the priests. However, if a person bought a field, which was not vowed, and was not in his family's inheritance when they entered Canaan, they could vow that field to the Lord. The valuation would be made as usual, and the person vowing the field would immediately pay the valuation price to the priest as a holy offering to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the land would revert back to the original owner of the land, as was decreed by law. All valuations would be according to the shekel of the sanctuary, with a shekel equaling 20 gerahs. As we said during our study of Exodus, there is much debate as to how much a shekel is, but according to my research, it seemed to be about 12 grams or 0.4 ounces. In 2020 money, that would mean that a shekel of silver would be worth about $5.80 American or $8.11 Canadian. Coming out of verse 26, we find that the firstborn among the animals could not be vowed to God. Why? Because according to Exodus 13 and 15, the firstborn among the animals already belonged to the Lord. You thus couldn't give to the Lord that which already belonged to him. The clean animals, sacrificial animals, were to be sacrificed to God. The donkey was to be redeemed by a sheep or to be put to death. Other unclean animals were to be redeemed with a price plus 20% or to be sold for the benefit of the sanctuary. Verse 28 tells us that nothing devoted to the Lord, placed under ban, whether man or beast or a field of his possession, may be sold or redeemed. What is being talked about here? Recall from our last lesson that land that was vowed but not redeemed by the Jubilee year became devoted to the Lord and fell into the possession of the priests. That meant that after that point the land couldn't be redeemed. The same thing applied to land that was sold during the time it had been vowed. What of animals? If they were clean animals, this chapter said that they couldn't be redeemed once vowed. Only unclean animals could be redeemed. What of people then? As we said earlier, from Exodus 13:15, the firstborn sons among Israel were the Lord's and would be redeemed. If they were vowed again, however, they would not be able to be redeemed a second time and would become the Lord's. This is how Samuel came to be in service to the Lord in the book of 1 Samuel. In verse 29, we find that no person under ban who is doomed for destruction may be redeemed, but shall surely be put to death. This is not talking about human sacrifice, but means that anybody who is convicted of a crime who is worthy of death under the law may not be redeemed. In other words, the penalty of death will stand. When it came to the tithes of seed, the produce the seed produced, or the fruit of the tree, the tithe is holy to the Lord. However, if he desired to redeem these tithes, he would pay the price for it plus 20%. However, when it came to tithes of the herd of the flock, these could not be redeemed or even exchanged. Each year, the increase of the herd or flock would pass by the shepherd, and he would mark off each 10th animal that passed under his rod. That would be the tithe of the flock or the herd. This was to be done honestly, so as not to reserve only the sickly animals for the Lord. All of these things contained in this chapter and this book are the commandments that the Lord gave to Israel through Moses at Mount Sinai. With that, we conclude our verse-by-verse study of the book of Leviticus. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's overall review of what was revealed to us in this book, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.